besides just doing a good job of the quality that you were contracted out to do, what sorts of touches, little things, create the emotional response needed to garner those raving 5-star reviews that are like not a sentence or two, but like a full-blown paragraph?
I'll tell you, the number one piece to look at is your communication with your customer. Number one. I always say a satisfied customer in today's world is a liability. And I'll tell you why they're a liability, because that means your system was set up to just create a satisfied customer. To me, if you mess up just a little bit, satisfied customer goes from satisfied, you just did what you said you were going to do, to you guys kind of suck, or maybe you guys really suck.
Right.
But if your system is set up to create a raving fan, meaning that from day one, you look at the entire process, that entire customer journey, and you look at every single touch point that you have with a customer throughout that journey, and you ask yourself a very simple question. This is how we teach it, by the way. Very simple question. What can we do at this touch point with the customer, whether it's face-to-face or on the phone or text or email, however you're communicating with them? What can we do to make this customer go, wow, these guys are so professional. Wow, these guys are so clean, like in the house. Wow, these guys are so fill in the blank. And you get that by thinking also about, well, what would create a really great experience for the customer? So, for example, one of the things that we used to do early on, we started G4 in 2009. Okay, so we're talking 13 years ago. Back then, Google reviews didn't even exist. So what we wanted feedback. Yeah. Tell us how we're doing. Now, one of the things, so these cards evolved over time. But on the one, we had columns, so we had these questions that we would ask, and then they would have the bubble, right? So you fill in the bubble. We went from, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, from excellent to good to fair to poor. We added a column called wow. Okay. We added a column called wow. And one thing was very, very interesting. So over thousands and thousands of these coming back, we would get companies that would consistently get wow, in their, I think it was 7 questions, except for one question. That question was follow up after the sale. So we would see that and we'd be like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? What did we find out? This is where communication comes in. So let's just say a lot of my clients sell windows. Well, you got to go and order windows. You can't just come out, sell them today and go install them tomorrow. There's a lag time of potentially weeks, sometimes even months.
Yeah.
So imagine I go out, I do my presentation, I sell somebody $10,000 worth of windows. I ask them for a deposit, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, whatever the number is. I ask them for a deposit. I take that information back to my office. I go and I order the windows. I schedule it. I do all of this stuff behind the scenes. But what didn't I do?
Tell them any of those steps.
I never called the customer. I never told them anything. So a month goes by, 6 weeks go by. Now they have to call the office and say, hey, I haven't heard from you guys. What's going on? Because immediately when you leave, what are they thinking? They're thinking, oh, shit, did I just get ripped off?
Right.
Because they've heard so many horror stories. So if you're not doing something immediately, like the next morning after the job was sold, you're already behind the 8 ball, because they're already starting to think about all the reasons why they should cancel. They're starting to think about, are these people going to rip me off? Yeah. So you immediately need to squash that. But then it's like, okay, so what if you do it the next day? Okay, well, what about 3 weeks from now? What about a month from now? I tell my clients, you should be reaching out to them every single week. They should get something from you that says, hey, everybody, or hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we're still here. everything is on track. We're going to let you know as we get closer, but we're still on track to what we told you. Very simple.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you change that, it changes the game, because now you're really starting to get into the mind of the customer, and you're asking yourself, well, if I'm the customer, or my grandmother was the customer, or my mother, how would I want them treated? That's how you got to look at it.
You think that this very particular window between the sale and the start of the actual job is one of the most important stages to over communicate in, and that is going to and do you see that in when you I'm assuming you have clients with many hundreds of reviews, maybe some that have thousands. Does that show up in is that a common thread in the reviews? People say explicitly, hey, I was really well communicated with after they sold me the job, but before we started, and that really mattered to me because XYZ.
Absolutely. Now, okay. So now here's the other thing as it relates now to referrals and repeat business. Okay. So think about this. So what a lot of companies do, and this is going to start happening now in the next few months, by the way, companies that were busy during the COVID boom, that did nothing to keep in touch with their customers, all of a sudden now, and didn't really work that hard to create raving fans. It created satisfied customers and they got their reviews and whatever, but they didn't really work to create raving fans.
Right.
So now what's going to happen? Things are going to start to slow down a little bit. They're going to start to look around and say, oh, crap, we don't have enough leads to run this week. My salespeople are getting upset that we don't have leads. What are we going to do? Oh, my God, let's start calling our past customers. So now they're going to call up their past customers that they've not set up any type of communication plan with. They never thought it through. They didn't communicate with them well during the actual project.
After just a cold call.
After the project was over. After the project was over, there was really no communication, no relationship building. And now they're going to call them up and they're going to say, hey, this is Benji from Benji's Window Company. And, we did your job for you 2 years ago. And they're going to be like, okay, you did a job for us 2 years ago. And then you're going to be like, well, it's been a little while and we need leads and it's time for you to give us money. But they and they're going to get in trouble. I mean, will it work in a couple cases? But think about it. Had you had a system that said, from the minute I set the appointment, not even after the job has been sold, from the minute I set the appointment, do I send them out a text message with a picture of the salesperson that's coming to their house, an email with a picture of the salesperson, something that says, hey, here, then a phone call or a text message or both to confirm the appointment. Then the day after the appointment, let's say it's sold. Now they call them up and say, thank you so much. We appreciate you. The paperwork came in. Here's what's going to happen next. Phone call, an email that says the same thing. And now we've started a communication with them. And now every week we're going to stay in touch with them and say, now when it comes to the end of the job, and now we're going to start our whole thank you and review campaign, how much more likely is it that that person is now going to give you a 5-star review where you ask them to put it? Right? Yeah. How much more likely is this person now when you nudge them, when you stay in touch with them, and you ask them for referrals, how much more likely are they to give you a referral?
Orders of magnitude more.
Exactly. Right?
Listen, if you like that clip, you can watch the full episode by clicking here. If you're not yet subscribed, you probably should be, and you can do that by clicking right here.